The Clouds and the Moon. Roll a smile hides a knife in it. Chapter 1, Straw Bags and Evil Stars. There are two things that people in Beijing can talk about the most. One is that the most handsome woman in Zhongzhou in the past 300 years is actually a straw bag with no talent and no virtue. Her name is Fu Tang, her skin is as bright as a peony, and her face can captivate the country and the city. It's a pity that she doesn't know poetry or etiquette, so she often uses jade cups as incense burners and bamboo slips as steamers. If it weren't for the prominent family of Fu, I am afraid that it would have become a street laughing stock. The second one is Fu Fengqing's only son, Ming Guo, who is known as the little evil star in the capital. He set fire at the age of 3, rode a wolf at the age of 5, and climbed the high wall of Prince Duan's palace with his servants at the age of 7 and hung up the prince's clothes. At the age of 10, he single-handedly crippled 5 inner court guards, but was never punished at all, only because his father was the Marquis of Wuning of the current dynasty, who had made great military achievements and held a high status, and even the emperor had to give him some respect. Fu Tang Miao and Yu Ming Guo, this 8 poles can't be beaten, but one day, the rope of fate tied them together. On that day, a family banquet was being held in the inner hall of Fufu. Fu Tang was drunk and unconscious, holding an incense burner in his hand, shouting to stew phoenix feet. Yu Ming Guo sneaked into Fufu mansion in order to catch a glimpse of Fu Tang's sister, Fu Tang Ying, the talented girl who was as cold as the moon, and also his white moonlight. Unexpectedly, he accidentally broke into the inner courtyard and bumped into Fu Tang, who fell into the lotus pond. Both of them fell into the water. Under the moonlight, the girl was soaked, and her clothes were close to the body, revealing her raven-colored collarbones and waist. He was stunned. He had never looked at this straw bag in detail, and today he felt that she was not as unbearable as the rumors. On the second day, there was a rumor in Beijing that the Prince of Fufeng broke into Fufu mansion at night and bathed in a pool of water with Miss Fu. Master Fu was so angry that he fell seriously ill for 3 days, and Fu Tangying was also forced to choose another good match, and promised Su Yanqing, the champion of the new department. Yu Ming Guo was unwilling in his heart, and in a fit of anger, he broke into Fu Tang's boudoir and said, "You help me recapture your sister, and I will help you get ahead. Let those who laugh at you all kneel down and beg you." Fu Tang looked at this evil star, gritted her teeth, and made a deal. A piece of secret, the two are allied, and their fate has been reversed since then. Chapter 2, Double-Sided Delicate Flowers. Fu Tang is not actually a straw bale. She has been smart since she was a child. She can memorize hundreds of family names at the age of 5, and can draw mountains and rivers at the age of 6. It's a pity that her grandmother was superstitious that she was her relatives, so the elders in the family forced her to pretend to be stupid and clumsy, and even forbade her to learn to read and write. Her mother died early and her sister was estranged, so she could only bury her edge deep in laughter. After reaching an agreement with Yu Ming Guo, she secretly began to act. At the big and small banquets in Beijing, she was still embarrassed, but she quietly befriended the nobles and obtained information. Yu Ming Guo bought the scholars with a lot of money and arranged a poetry meeting to make trouble, which made the champion Su Yanqing lose face. The two of them are bright and dark, day by day. Within March, rumors began to spread in the capital. Although Miss Fu was clumsy, she was very lucky. All those who associate with her have been promoted to become wealthy, and their wealth is rolling. And Su Yanqing was revealed that his ancestor had dealings with the anti-king king in the north, and was impeached and imprisoned, which became the starting point of a palace turmoil. In order to protect Su Yanqing, Fu Tangying had to go to the criminal department to intercede. Was recognized by the regent and entered the cold palace. Fu Tang sat on the high platform, looking at this palace farce, and smiled charmingly. He said, "You are really poisonous and make my heart itch." She turned back to him, "If you dare to turn your face, I'll let you plant it too." Chapter 3, Disaster Falls. Everything seems to be closed, but in fact, the storm has just begun. It turns out that behind Su Yanqing is the power of the northern aristocratic family Nai clan. Fu Tangying is willing to be a pawn to save her lover. Ming Guo also hid his background. He was actually the illegitimate son of the late emperor and a half-brother of the current emperor. His mother was forced to swallow gold due to a palace coup, and he lived among the people since he was young. King Fufeng simply turned a deaf ear to it. Fu Tang saw through the truth from a game within a game. She is the only key. Because of the fate star she carried, she hid the son of heavenly rebellion determined by Tai Shi Ling back then. If she wants, she can support the army to seize power and establish a new generation. After knowing this, Ming Guo remained silent. Overnight, the Fufeng Palace's mansion was raided, and Yu Ming Guo was seriously injured and fled. Fu Tang escorted him to the no-man's land of Yunnan, and in the poisonous fog mountain, he used poisonous weeds to heal his wounds. Use voice to lure him awake every day. She said, "You're the only one I chose, not because of who you are, but because you're the only one who knows I'm not a straw bale." "I never was." Yu Ming Guo took her hand and said, "I never wanted to be an emperor, I just want to watch a flower and snow with you. She laughed, but she also cried. Chapter 4 Clouds Under the Moon. 5 years later, the capital is in turmoil again. The new emperor ascended the throne and the world was initially settled. Rumors have risen again in the DPRK and China. Some people say that Fu Tang is known as the new emperor, and her means are fierce and ruthless like a blade. Some people say that she and the little evil star have both died in the mountains and forests, leaving only plum blossoms and an old scroll of paintings. No one knows that in the old town of Fengyang, there is a tea house couple. The man's name is Yun Mi, and the woman's name is Yu Shuet. They quarreled day and embraced each other night and night. She still loves to be embarrassed, and he still loves to be angry. They had an eagle, a wolf, a bunch of disobedient neighborhood kids. The children laughed at her for being a straw bale beauty, and she smiled back and said, "You haven't seen me single-handedly turn the world upside down." At night, they drink to the moon. He said, "Have you ever regretted it?" She shook her head and said, "I wish this body was as long as the moon and did not associate with the clouds." Volume 2, The Way Home, Indiana Troubled Times. Chapter 1, The Nightmare of the Old Palace. On the night when the heavy snow closed the city, in the side hall of the eastern city of Jingxi, a dusty painting scroll was picked up by the palace maid. In the painting, a woman leans on the threshold and looks at the moon. Her eyebrows and eyes are smart, and her clothes are fluttering. The inscription below, "If there are clouds covering the bright moon, why not draw a bow and shoot the 9 skies?" The palace maid's name is Hu Yueying, a small person who works in the cold palace, but she recognizes the person in the painting at a glance. It was the second miss of the Fu family who she had seen with her own eyes 5 years ago and went to death with that crazy son, now Ji Yuxiu. She secretly took the painting back to the side hall, but unexpectedly she was spotted by the Eastern Depot 3 days later. On the night of the execution, a flute sound like weeping and complaining was heard outside the palace gate. A man in black broke through the wall and tiles, rescued Hu Yueying like a ghost, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. This person is none other than the evil star Hell, who has been declared dead in the northern frontier. He is not dead, but has been lurking for many years, looking for the way back that really belongs to him and Shuet. The capital was shaken and the political situation changed again. Under the new emperor, the person in power is the Prime Minister Fu Yi. This man is meticulous and elegant, but he uses thundering methods to eliminate dissidents. In 10 years, he killed 3 chancellors and 2 princes, gradually gaining control of power. And he was also a pen pal of Fu Tang, who corresponded with her in the name of Huanyan for several years when he was a teenager, until he personally sent her into a dead end, leaving her and the evil star in history. Now, he wants to make that painting public to the world, and once again set off a storm, the purpose of which is to force Shuet to appear. Chapter 2 The Heavens Restart. Fengyang Old Town. Someone is checking on us again. The snow wiped the frost off the eaves and looked calm. Behind him, Yu Mingluo was sewing winter clothes for the children, and when she said this, he didn't raise his head. "Didn't you say it earlier? I sneaked to the county office last night to drink a bowl of mutton soup." Shuet sneered, "Do you have to drink?" He raised his eyebrows. "The shopkeeper's soup is too fragrant, and if you don't go, you're a coward." The couple lived like ordinary people, but knew that sooner or later this storm would come. In the middle of the night, Shuet lifted the floor of the secret room. There are more than 10 old books hidden there, all of which are confidential documents of the previous dynasty, military talisman tokens and Taishi testaments. She thought she would never touch these things again, but when she opened the last volume, her hands trembled slightly. It was a handwritten letter from Fu Yuyi when he was young. "My heart has not changed. If you don't come, I will cross mountains and rivers to find you." She sneered, "Everyone should learn to let go. But there was turmoil in my heart." She understands that this is a bigger game, and the chess pieces are no longer just people, but the whole world. She and Mingluo embarked on a journey northward and returned to the old capital to find the lost secret scroll of the apocalypse, which is said to be the last order of the first emperor and can determine the fortune of the country. She didn't take it back then, but because she didn't want to get involved in the struggle for power, she had to pick up the sword again. On the way, I met a teenager who called himself Liao. His eyes were snow white, and he was blind since he was a child, but he could draw everything. The shadowless map he drew hid a map of the secret passage, which was the place where the secret scrolls were hidden. The 3 of them walked together. The snowy night was as dark as ink, but no one looked back. Chapter 3 Yantai captures the volume. The banquet in Beijing resumed, and rumors were circulating inside and outside the imperial city that Shuet had returned. Fu Yuyi pretended to be indifferent, but sent spies to search the West Market every day. He knew that she would definitely come for the noon seal that had been arranged. At noon, in front of Yantai Tower, Shuet sneaked into the venue as a businesswoman, and Mingluo hid in his height. Yan Liao's paintings formed a array, urging the power of earth fire and alarming the underground organs. The secret scroll appeared, and everyone was shocked. A scuffle broke out, and Fu Yuyi finally appeared, revealing Yu Shue's identity in public. She is the daughter of the rebellion, she wants to seize the society, and she will be arrested now. Yu Shue smiled lightly, if it was me who robbed the society, you would have already knelt on the ground to beg for peace. Ming Luo drew his sword from its sheath, cut down the gold and bronze canopy on the imperial steps, and covered Fu Yi's side. Yantai was engulfed in flames, and the old king and the new power were reduced to ashes. But the dense volume was taken away by the snow. She finally persuaded Stylus, this is not to conquer the world, but to protect those who are still living in the mountains and rivers. He said, as long as there is you, I will believe. Chapter 4 Returning as a teenager. A few months later, the Fengyang tea house reopened. The street painter depicts a husband and wife, with a mountain full of spring snow behind them, and the fragrance of tea and the chirping of eagles contrast with each other. In that couple, the woman still laughed heartlessly, and the man still loved to scold her for being a straw bag. The old neighbors who knew each other knew that they were the two most difficult people in Beijing in the old days, and now they are just ordinary people who sell tea, embroider clothes and fly kites with their children. One day, someone came from afar and sent a scroll of old paintings. The woman's eyes in the painting are cold, and the inscription reads, floating clouds and moons, who asks the old dust? Shui smiled and said, it seems that it is time for us to go to the South China Sea. Styx picked up his sword and said, okay, this time it's my trouble, don't laugh too loudly. She smiled and bent over, but still snatched the sword, and said, you are still my wolf dog, you can't outrun me, see how I train you. He laughed at her, stupid. The spring breeze blows through the old town, and the peach blossoms bloom again. In this world, some people rise and some people fall, but she and he are still in the world, still smiling as before.